Hello and welcome, and this is part 7. I think I got it wrong last episode when I said part 7, but this is the real part 7. And finally I have my servo tester and the little battery pack which I got as well, so I can hook this up and run the servos and get them neutral. So it's got 3 modes there: manual, neutral and automatic. I think it does have room for 3, but I'm just going to do these one at a time. So that's on manual. You probably can't see from there, but that's turning this servo. If I set to neutral, it moves itself to neutral, and automatic, it's just rotating one side to the other. So that one is now neutral, so we'll unplug that and get the steering one in. I'll just put that to manual. Okay. So that looks like it's working fine, and I'll go ahead, set that to neutral and jump there. Okay, so I suppose it seems like a waste just to get things lined up, but it was pretty cheap. Same with the battery holder there, which I found online. The batteries came from somewhere else, but you know, as long as you can maintain equipment, I guess this helps you check the actual rotation on the servos and check they're in good working order. So, in my opinion, worth spending a couple of quid for that. Right, so I think now that they're neutral, I can look to assemble the brackets which sit on there and steer everything. Now, I did go ahead and cut everything out and mock it up, and start to look at the pieces, and it started to say things like self-tapping screw, and then looked, and these are actually metal. So the self-tapping screws are going to be useless. So I think I've thought of a fix to try and get everything working. So whereas this asked for 3 pieces to be assembled together, which would then normally sit on there with a small washer and whatever suggested threaded screw they said to use, this just isn't going to work. But I think what I can do is, with my servos, there were some pieces which came with it, and I've lined things up as best I can against what I should have. So I know that I need to get this little screw with a pin or ball mounted on this first hole here. Seeing as this is the steering, it's going to move across and possibly cross the path of the gear mechanism. So I'm trying to think what to do with that one, and I did find a little circular piece, but for the length it's at the moment, it's going to hit. So what I might have to do is alter this little rod or arm to fit the steering, and possibly notch out the back of the circular piece, which I can then fit instead of this piece. I'm hoping the the change in angle's not going to affect anything, but again I've lined it up I think as best as I can, and it's just about the same as one of these holes, but I do have a few different parts that I could play about with. So if the circle piece isn't going to work, I've got a little cross piece, or I could use something like the star piece and again remove any excess which might come into the way of the steering. But I think what I can do for the moment is actually alter this a little bit. I thought I'd get this on camera just in case you get the same problem as myself. Always solution to something. You just need to think through it. So my thinking is drilling into this and then possibly removing some of the edge. So it was this first hole which I'm pretty sure was lined up. It's just plastic, so it's pretty easy to modify, and you should see there's a bigger hole there. Just going to have a quick test. Where's the piece to see if that goes through. Got a couple of different size pieces, so I'll need to check which one's going to be a good fit for it. I think just slightly too small there. I'll be able to thread that. A quick look in my roll of many things. I think there was a 2.5. I'll try a 3. Maybe on a spare piece, just so that I know it's not too big. There's this reasonable difference in size, I guess. Okay, I'll try on this one. As I said, I've always got a second one from the second servo, which is in a pack somewhere, still sitting spare. Okay, so again that's a little bit wider, and I hope this is going to be about size perfect. Okay, so I know that works. One thing I think that it's going to be too tall once it's in there to actually sit in properly. But again, thinking ahead, there were 2 spacers used in the original kit, these little plastic washers, so I'm going to use them to move the screw up closer to its original position as well on that steering arm, which now should, when I mount it on there properly, move it out of the way of the servo, so it's not knocking. But I think what I want to do is, as I said, modify this a little bit and try using these clippers, kind of roughly marked out, that went somewhere, roughly marked out where I wanted to cut a bit earlier. So that's it, cut down. Go quick. file of any rough edges. Doesn't need to be perfect. I think as long as it works, I'm going to be happy. I'll round it off a little bit. Just so it's a bit of a nicer shape and might work in better with the gear arm. So, like I said, I think that's gonna do the job. So what I'll do is I'll get this bit attached, because I don't think it's going to be possible really to attach this after getting it pushed onto the servo. So it's through my hole. A little nut on the end there. I'm not going to use the thread lock or anything just at the moment. Just want to make sure it works more than anything else. So I have the screw. And pliers. Make sure it's reasonably tight there. Okay, I think I'm happy. Right. So now I know these are in the neutral position. Let's double check where that needs to go. And that is basically dead center down the way. Just double checking that you only call for only one screw in each piece. This looks a little bit off center, that's all. Draw over. It's going to be awkward to get to, but I think they were tight in there. Okay, that's fine. No. So, yeah, what I'll do is I'll try and fit this in as best to dead center as we can. And it does have teeth, so it's going to be difficult to get it exact. I'll certainly do my best. That looks to be about as neutral as I can get it. Doesn't want to sit any more than that, really. One last try, just in case I've got it in an awkward position, but I think that was about it. It only wants to sit at a more squint angle, so also trying not to turn the servo now it's neutral. And I'm trying to fit the piece to it. Okay, should be getting there in a second. Okay, that's pretty tight there. Okay, so this next piece I can't really do much on the height gain. What I'll do is we'll pop that circular one just for a moment. And I'll bring back my servo tester. And what I'll do is I'll check to see how it's lining up. So that misses it by just a fraction. I mean, there is less than a millimetre play on there. I don't know if you can see that. To be honest, I think that's gonna work. There's no rubbing. So yeah, I'm actually quite happy with that. That seems to work, and then that will go with my original plan of using the round piece to settle. So again, try not to turn the servo at all, just want to free this. Okay, so like I said, trying to line it up, looking through the holes which are on the bottom. Is this going to work? I don't know if that's going to be out enough. Like the star one. So it's very close to the very end on there. And that's supposed to sit that way. So I know that's going to knock in, so if I remove these three, that gives me this side to have coming straight out of the offset edge there. Okay, and that's going to be this tiny pin. Does that fit through? Oh, not quite. What size do I have? Oh, I have some tiny ones. So it's not 1.5. I think it was a 1.5. It's going to be about the 2. Okay, so I think that's a 2. I'll quickly drill this out and give this a test. Where did I put that? Just taking that out. There's a different one. I've lost. I just lost the thing. Put it down a second ago. I'm sure I did. I think that's a different size. That'd be 2.5. Or was that the 2? That might have been the 2. Oh, no. It was a 2.5. So, yep, just put things back in to wherever you got them from. Keep yourself organised. I thought I went mad for a second there. Right, okay. And just on the same thing. So that should now be large enough. I'm hoping for this to sit through, but of course it's too short, too small a piece, whereas the housing, I guess, is gouged out for the piece itself. Right, I guess there's only one thing I can do, is try and cut that down a little bit in size. Again, I do have a spare of this, so I'm not too bothered. I was going to be removing these arms on the opposite side just for clearance, so I'm going to get rid of them just now. Also, I'm figuring out if I think possibly file that down a little bit. So I'll get these other two arms out of the way as well. And they are just firing across the room somewhere. I have no idea where. I'll find them later. Okay, that gives me something to work with. I guess we just need to try and come down a millimetre or two. So the bolt's going to hold. So I've kind of marked an area of where I need to cut, and you know what, I'm going to do a combination of probably filing this and possibly cutting things, but you get the gist of what I'm going to do, so I'm going to cut and come back once I've got this done. So attempt one failed. I was trying to mark a line through and it's cut off there. Okay, new plan. Countersink it, see if that'll work. I found it in big drill bits. We're just going to go in, get a rough size. I'll probably line up on the third one out, that's fine. Get rid of that one. Countersinking is basically just creating a hole or divot big enough to house something in. So I've made that side big, I hope big enough to take just about this nut, which is tiny. I think it's a problem with hex nut round hole. I think this is the plan to go with. Just get this whole board out to the right size. So now that should take at least the screw through there. Let's see if I can maybe notch a couple of bits out with a knife. That might help me get the bolt in. saying it's pretty or anything like that, but it might do the job. Do I have anything I can persuade this in with? Oh, not quite. You all. Doesn't seem much. There, a little bit on this side, or a side somewhere. Right. It's close. Trying to press it in with something. Oh, that's so very nearly wanting to work. I'll see if we can get a screw in that might help pull it into place. You know what, I think that's just about it. Okay, so that's tight on there. So, a little bit of modification, and I'm hoping that's going to work. As I said, I hope the height difference isn't going to be overly crucial, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of these side arms. I don't want it interrupting with the steering. Okay, it's a rough job, but that'll do. Let's try and get this lined up, and again you can see one way kind of cocks off a bit. Try and squeeze it onto the next middle run, which is about as square as it's going to get. And now I need the screw from this second pack still actually, and that should then be the servos set. I was actually hoping to do a lot more than just put in 2 servos, but as you can see there's been the odd issue. But I think we've managed to overcome them with little bits of modification. Okay, that's just about there. tight enough for me, I guess. So it's quite a tough one to turn, but it's got quite a bit of torque to it. This one's got less torque, but should have a quicker response time. So that's servo sets. So I'm happy with that. And I guess these spare pieces I'm just going to pop into a box and keep them set aside somewhere, I guess, as spares. But all in all, successful day, I guess. Modified 2-3 different arms to try and fit, and I think that's worked out pretty good. The spares separate over there, tiny bits, again that's steering spares, and let's have a quick look anyway and see what's coming next. So servo's all done. It'll probably be the linkages, as I think we've done everything else up until this point. So yeah, that's the differentials, the rear differentials, the dampeners, which have gone onto the rear diffs. I've already done the front suspension, which is the next page. We've already got our gear set up. So yeah, we'll have a look at the linkages actually. I don't know how quick that's going to be. I've got a couple of pieces to actually cut out. These look to be the black ones. It looks like there's a couple for the white ones. 4 black ones, actually it shouldn't take too long. See what pieces. I think that was one of the arms there. Let's see what the other one's going to be there. No. I think there's 2 in here. One is that. So that's the middle one. And this first one BA4. BA4 is a bag. This one's asking for. It's asking for 2 of those, 3 of those, 3 of those. No, I must be going mad. What do we have to attach? So it'd be the main steering would be attached. I think one of those would be the gear. So I think there's possibly a spare gear one. That pack. And there's one in pack A, which should be easy enough to find. The short one, pack A. Okay, well, I'll quickly go ahead, cut these out, and get them tidied up, and we'll come back in once I have them. And now I have these plastic pieces all tidied up, we can start to assemble everything. So we'll just start with the the smallest one and work our way up, I guess. And these going to be self-threading, so I guess start with one, we'll get the other end on as well. And just tighten them up. I think the book shows you roughly what size they need to be. That's fine, we'll just keep on tightening until we get to the right point. And try and tighten each side. You can kind of roughly hold on to the bar. I might use some grips if it gets too difficult. How close are we there? Ooh, a little bit far actually. A couple of turns to back it off. And a few more. Just about there. Okay, I think that's about good for that first one. I suppose we can always alter it a little bit if need be, and this second one is calling for the white capsule one. I guess you want to try and get these on as straight as possible. It's a little bit fiddly, but not too bad. They are pretty thin rods, and you've got to try and level things out a little bit as you go. I'm just hoping that the modifications for the steering and the gears are going to be okay. A little bit more. I don't see any reason why it's not going to work though. Okay, it's roughly at the size. And I guess try and make those at level. See, that's okay for me. And finally this last one. Again, trying to get the rod screwed in as straight as possible. Okay. Bit of a tedious process, but one of the simplest so far. And a little bit more, and that should be okay. How's that? I think that's about bang on. Right, so now we have these three. We can skip ahead a good bit because we've done all that. Okay, and oh, I said skip everything. So this white one, sorry, is attached to the gear shifting servo there. so that's fine. And the steering servo arm is also attached. That might need a little bit of gentle persuasion of the pliers. There we go. So that's in there. I presume it's going to be hooked up very soon to the front there. Just turn the page. So yep, we have them mounted. These I had already set in place because I was getting impatient the other day. So now we just need to get the other pliers and sit this into place. And the final bracket across for both steering. Roughly lined up. There we go. Okay, so that's that side there. And again, we'll crimp it this side. Okay. So that's the steering now in place. As I said, this is quite a tough gear. And that is all that assembled there. And all we're looking for now is to get a couple of pieces set into place, which is going to be the gearbox, and this is going to be pretty quick. We just need some F pieces. That's A, that's C, so F. Okay, this is the B. This is BF2. Oh, it's a different section. So again, we'll just double check. BF2, the right size. Yes, I believe it is. And it was just 4 of these. 2, 3, 4. This is going to sit onto the engine's roll, and we'll quickly get this drive shaft cut out. So it's the drive shaft which will be going in at the same time. That's my F there. Okay, so it's going to be easiest. We're going to have to probably pop that in there and bring the gearbox in to meet up with the two of them. So it is asking, I think, for grease on the fellow shaft. I do have some left. So I'll do one end and then the other as we're putting them together. Okay, so that's just going to sit up in the housing there. I'll rest that down on the book, and Our gearbox is going, so there's bits everywhere still, going to be mounted in here. Try and keep wires out of the way a little bit. Let's see if we can line up everything in place there. So kind of bend this wire down a little bit on the motor. Seems to be getting in the way a little bit. Okay, so I guess before doing anything else, I'll pop a little bit of grease on the axle again, or the propeller shaft, sorry. And we'll get those lined up and in, and now we can screw it in place. It's not asking for Loctite, but you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and dabble a little bit on that. Better safe than sorry. It's around the engine and gears, which are going to be moving a lot, I guess. So I'll quickly just get a few of the screws in place, not overly tighten, just enough to hold the gearbox down. Make sure it's all aligned. I hope that's the right holes anyway. Yep, so it's in the second hole from the front, so just left there, so it's fine. Just need to back that one off a little bit. Just up and manoeuvre. This other one, I think I'll give Loctite a miss on this one, just as I'm trying to keep things just pinned in really at the moment. Just trying to get this aligned. It's a bit of a tight squeeze with the wires coming out from the motor. Come on. There's your hole. It's just not having it. See what we're trying this back one. Let's see if that will help us align things a little bit better. Okay, so that one's happy, I think. Why aren't you happy? Get in your hole. It's just not playing games. This is just an awkward place to be at. I think that's that one. In. Alright, we'll give this one a try again. Hopefully it's pulled its... Oh, there you go. Hopefully it's pulled that into place. Okay, there we go. Four screws have never been so hard. Yeah, I'll just put the lid back on that, seeing as I've not actually really bothered with the Loctite on the rest. But if it's that hard getting in, it's going to be that hard getting out. Trying to ruin things, but it's a nice good fit. Okay, so I'm happy with that. And I guess that's everything kind of coming together. The prop shaft is in there. And if it wasn't so greasy, I'd turn everything. There we go. So that all turns. Wheels are turning. And everything's turning at the back, so yep, that's good. And I think we'll call it a day for that episode. It's been quite a hectic one for me, I guess, having to figure out a completely new way of redoing the suspension. I suppose, sorry, the only thing that's left is try and get the gear linkage on. So I think that needs a little turn to maybe bring that in line with that. And there we go, so that's the gears in place as well. So yeah, if I had my receiver, I'd maybe hazard a go at plugging it in and testing if the servos actually turn and the motor turns wheels, but I think for now that's about as far as I can go. Once we start getting into the next pieces, I might have to refer to the multifunction unit because it will replace a few of the items. I think like the mounts for the seating, the steps is where the control is going to be for the on-off, and the sound and everything there. So a couple of pieces are going to now be redundant, which is going to be, I think there's a plate for the back for the power switch, so that's now kind of redundant, and then the rest after that is going to be a lot of bodywork, I think, once we've got the multifunction units working. I might leave the lights off until I've figured out one, how to set them in and where everything's going with the multifunction unit, and to what car are actually going to do the truck itself. I do have a few ideas, but I'm gonna wait and plan that one. Yep, this section, there's a power switch there which is no longer needed. Although I might put the piece in. Actually, I think there's a replacement piece in the multifunction unit for that section with the power switch, and it looks like a place for a servo arm for coupling the fifth wheel. For the coupler, as they're calling it, coupler plate. But anyway, I shall call it a day there, and thanks for watching.